Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Microsoft. This was a stock analysis request from one of the followers, and I wanted to let you know that anyone can make these requests and I'll most likely cover them, especially if there is an actionable trade setup to follow. And in the case of this chart, we are of course tracking a very bullish structure, where I would actually prefer that we would consider this to be still the actual wave 3 to the upside. And this isn't the only interpretation. I could consider this to be a wave 5, I could consider this to be a wave C, but in the end I would be tracking the exact same pattern within all these scenarios. And even then, even if we are to consider this to be a single double 1-2 setup, yeah, simple, not single, I could see it work out. I could be tracking this as a series of 4-1-2 setups within this area. I could consider this to be a 1-2-3, fourth and the fifth. All of them could work out with no issues. And for that reason, we are going to focus specifically on the internal wave 3 to the upside that is expected to continue for quite a significant amount of time longer. Now, internally within this structure, I am looking here at a wave 1 up, a wave 2 down, and for this wave 2 correction, again, doesn't really matter where I am considering the actual low, and it is possible for us to consider that this wave 2 bottom in any of these three lows. Yeah, even if they are higher lows, I could consider them and they could actually work out, but in the end, even then, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter for the large wave 3. It wouldn't matter because once we actually build and we get to this area having some relevance for a target for a wave 5 or for a follow-up wave 4 correction, yeah, the exact area of support would be shifted only ever so slightly, and we would likely have already built many extensions by that point, and we may be able to work the structure out within any of these interpretations. And then that is why we are going to focus on an even smaller time frame internally at this internal wave 3 to the upside, basically, where we have formed a wave 1, a wave 2, and we are in the larger wave 3. And the larger wave 3 is expected to still form, to still continue higher, although it is certainly within the later stages of this structure. Now, internally within this wave 3, I am once again tracking a 5-wave move to the upside, where this would be a wave 1 up, a wave 2 down, a third wave up, a fourth wave down, and I would be considering this a fifth wave to the upside that I would actually like to still see form at least one more high. Now, I could see it extend to quite wild levels, but that would not be necessary. Within this structure, I would like to see at least one more high to have a more clearly full count, but even that, not absolutely necessary, and we will have an internal area of support that will be able to tell us when we should expect a likely top to be in place. And there are actually specific reasons I have picked this exact count to be tracked within this area, and I did actually count even the internal structure. I have been doing a lot of research within this area, within this structure, and in the end this actually seems to fit best, and for a couple of reasons. So firstly, the wave 2 and the wave 4 proportions do line up quite good. They seem quite likely to work out within this structure, and not only that, but if we are to consider this to be the wave 4 correction, we would have actually gotten to the first level of support only getting a quick dip into this level, into this area, but it is sufficient to consider that it has formed the bottom within a 3-wave move and then to have started a 5th wave to the upside. And yeah, for these reasons, this seems like a quite clear choice for the actual count that we are tracking internally that should be more of a focus than what we had here in the previous larger time frame structures, and yeah, even on the even larger time frame. Now, again, the focus remains here on this 5th wave to the upside that I would prefer to still see form one more high. Now, within this structure, I am at the moment tracking it as an ending diagonal, and I would consider this to be a wave 1 up, a wave 2 down, a third wave up, fourth wave down, and then a 5th wave to complete this pattern. And within this wave 5, I would consider this to be an A wave up, B wave down, and a C wave. And this interpretation would also work out to have the same area of support for a couple of other interpretations, in fact. So I could consider this to be a 1, 2, 3, fourth and the fifth. It could be a wave 1 up. We would have here a wave 2 correction instead, and then we would be tracking a third wave to be formed to the upside within this overall larger wave 5. But this idea would be entailing or assuming the same interpretation, the same area of support for a wave 2 correction. Now, I might actually prefer that this would be a double 1-2-1-2 setup, in which case the area would shift ever so slightly higher, but the reason I am using the lower area of support is that it provides us a more clear level where the probabilities heavily shift towards a more significant top already being in place, yeah? If we break here below the 78.6% retracement, at the $381.8 level, we should be prepared for the larger wave 3 top to already be in place, yeah? And to look for the larger wave 4 correction. And remember, I mentioned that this could be a wave 1 to the upside that could have formed. Even after we formed this top within the yellow interpretation, this could also work out as a wave 1. And where would this work out within this overall larger structure? Well, it would be a wave 1 part of a larger 50 to the upside, where in that case we would actually expect after the wave 1 is complete to have a wave 2 correction, but then an even wilder push into a third wave to the upside. Yeah, this third wave would be expected to be even stronger. And the only issue is that this, while it could work out to form a wave 2 correction and a third wave, and it could have even already formed a wave 2 correction and we could be in a third wave, but within all these interpretations, while it could work out, it could also be a more significant top within this wave 5. It could easily take us into a larger correction in the wave 4, and in the eventuality that we have already topped within this wave 3, I would need to be looking at the first level of support for the wave 4 correction to be starting at the $298 level, yeah? Until that level, I wouldn't necessarily be looking for this correction to have fulfilled. I could easily see further extensions lower, and we may be going even as low as the 50% retracement while still maintaining the same probabilities for a follow-up wave 5 to the upside to work out. Now, certainly, while other interpretations are possible, as I just mentioned, this could have been a wave 5 top, we may have already the wave 2 correction and already have an internal double 1-2-1-2 setup, and we could be looking at the third wave to the upside. What we have here in the yellow scenario may line up better with the broader market, yeah, because across the market we actually expect on many stocks to see one additional high, but not necessarily in a very strong third wave to the upside. And I'm not even saying that it could not work out, it's just not necessarily highly suggestive. Yeah, the market, the structure is not necessarily highly suggestive of such a pattern working out. And right now I'm tracking in this smaller time frame this idea of an ABC movement. I'm looking for a wave B correction and a C wave to the upside to consider it complete, yeah? Because again, within this wave A, clearly we don't have an apparent 5-wave move. We only have here the ABC structure, and while it could still form here, even here, a fourth and a fifth, it's not necessarily a high probability interpretation, but I am certainly considering that a bottom may already be in place, even though we didn't reach this exact area of support. Remember, the other interpretation for a double 1-2-1-2 setup did reach the area of support, and again, even the other interpretation for a wave 4 correction would have the same 38.2% retracement, which would have been reached, and we could have already formed a bottom within this structure. But at this point, I wouldn't be making assumptions, and instead I would be focusing on exact levels of support and resistance internally. And firstly, within this structure to the upside, we could actually assume that we may have formed an initial 5-wave, and I could be looking here for a wave 2 correction. Now, whether this is a wave 2 or only a wave B correction, doesn't matter exactly. We have the levels of support that extend all the way down to the $471 level. We certainly got to the last level of support and created this very substantial move to the upside already. And in this case, I would be watching the areas for resistance at the levels between the $496.8 all the way up to that $533 level. And I would be tracking this as a possible extension of the larger correction to the downside, in which case we could even be looking here, to be honest, even at a potential 1-2 setup to be formed, where we could see afterwards a third, fourth, and a fifth, where, yeah, realistically, this could form a larger ABC structure, nothing out of line for what our expectations could be for this yellow interpretation. But even within this scenario, I would actually still prefer to push a little higher, as so far we haven't gotten into the area of resistance. Yeah, it only starts at the $496.8 level. And then internally within this area, I would be considering that we may be building here a 1-2 setup and a third wave, and within this wave 3 I would actually like to still see further extensions. And now I cannot tell you whether this will end up being a wave A, a wave B and a wave C, or realistically a 1, 2, 3, where we get then even a fourth and a fifth. I can track the internal structure to be built in the same manner in either case, in either scenario. I would ideally like to see an impulse formed within this area, and to be honest, we may have formed a lower low, yeah, ever so slightly here, but the actual bottom we should start our count in may be instead here. Now, within such an interpretation, if we can to look even at a very, very small time frame, I would be tracking this area of support for a possible correction within a wave 4. Now, we haven't gotten yet to the actual levels in this correction, but surely enough we got close, and I would like to still see another low. But as long as we hold here the $482.9, I can still look for continuation higher within a fifth in this area. And even once this is done, actually I could still see another attempt to follow a wave 4 correction and a fifth wave, and then yeah, it could continue like this for quite a while. I could actually see like even 3 or 4 for 5 patterns to actually complete this structure to the upside. But for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. And by the way, I could be seeing quite a severe correction quite a severe failure even if we fail the 50% retracement, but I would probably still need to see a push into the 61.8% retracement for the idea of an ending diagonal within the wave C, and that would actually allow us to track all the way down to the $478 level. Yeah, below that level we can assume a large degree failure and a head into the larger area of support, but until then, yeah, we can actually still see continuation higher within other patterns. But yeah, for now, this is it. Have a nice day, and bye-bye.